First off, we could come in right here between the last two lumbar vertebrae and cut this into a short loin section and a sirloin section. We could do that and then use this short loin, as you'll see later, cut into porterhouse steaks, T-bone steaks, and finally off the front we may get a strip steak or two as the tenderloin begins to narrow down to its attachment. So we could do that. Today, what we're about to do is we're going to come in and take the whole tenderloin first as one whole piece. It's about 1.5 to 1 3/4% from the carcass. So it's a very small piece, but it's the most tender muscle in the carcass and obviously is in very high demand. We will then be able to take the rest of this short loin section, take the bones out of it to make a strip loin that we'll cut strip loin steaks from. When we start to fabricate the loin into boneless, closely trimmed cuts, and not the short loin that we'd use for porterhouses and T-bones, but the actual just boneless cuts, we have that done for you here and kind of tried to put it back together so you can see the various parts. Again, we're looking on the inside of the animal here, and we removed this tenderloin. We talked about the tenderloin being big on one end, narrow as it goes down to the other end. And you can kind of see that here. It's only about 1.5% to 1 3/4 of the carcass again. It has two muscles in it, two major muscles, actually has more than that, but it has the psoas major muscle, which is the major muscle in the tenderloin, and the psoas minor, which is a lot of times referred to as a chain along the side. There are a couple of other muscles up here in this end, and normally we call this the butt end of the tenderloin. As we come back then and remove the tenderloin, we're able to get to some of the bones that are in here. We can remove this vertebra that was there. A lot of times it will be referred to as the chine bone. We can also, off the sirloin, remove this big portion of the hip, big part of the hip bone, which gets us down to a boneless loin. From that, we can remove some other small bones in here to get to the strip loin, the whole strip loin, which you can see has the same shape as our ribeye muscle on this end. It'll have an added muscle, the gluteus medius muscle, which is really the center portion of a sirloin, we'll see in a minute, up here on the top. Sometimes this end will be referred to as the vein end of the strip. The tail on these could be are various, but on this one we've made it 1 by 1. So if you hear those numbers, again, we're talking about the length of the tail from the end of the longissimus dorsi or the loini ribeye muscle here on the end. Okay. So we move back in the animal, we have the sirloin. We've found a seam in between two muscles. Actually, you may be able to see it better from the side. We removed the bottom sirloin, which includes the ball tip, bottom sirloin ball tip. And you can see just the tip of another muscle here that normally is referred to as the bottom sirloin tri-tip. It's triangular in shape. From that, we have the top sirloin, which is the portion that's left. If you notice on this, there's the gluteus medius, the major muscle in the sirloin, and the biceps femoris. The gluteus medius has muscle fibers that run toward you. The biceps femoris has muscle fibers that run side to side. So to make these more tender, one of the things that's done is to remove the cap, the biceps femoris muscle. If we use it now, we can cut across the grain to make it more tender. By doing that also, we isolate one major muscle, the gluteus medius, by also removing some accessory muscles. And so now we can cut steaks across this way. We can separate it into portions and cut thicker steaks according to portion size. But we're down to a single muscle that can be utilized for high quality sirloin steaks.